Welcome to HR Unlock, the HR podcast that takes you on an exciting adventure through the world of human resources. My name is Joha, and with me, as usual, I have
Kelechi, and I'm so glad to be here, guys.
our topic for today is fostering a respectful workplace. Now, there is no way we can discuss fostering a respectful workplace without combating the issues of bullying and harassment in the workplace.
Yeah. So, to combat the issues of harassment and bullying in the workplace, it starts from awareness and education.
Yes. So, for awareness and education, we would require training of employees. We require set out policies. Your policies should be clear and concise on what is regarded as harassment or bullying, and what is the implication, what's the punishment,
Yeah.
to what extent, who does it cover, what's the scope of this policy. There should be clear policies against bullying and harassment in the workplace. Another thing that's very important is open discussion. So your policy should also state things that allow employees to be comfortable to come out when they feel bullied or harassed in the workplace.
Okay, so first of all, we must be conscious of promoting respectful interactions in the workplace. And by respectful interactions, people need to know what is not respectful when it comes to interactions. So there are verbal aspects of sexual harassment or harassment in the workplace and bullying that some people are not even aware of. Some don't even recognize that these things constitute a workplace problem just by verbal communication.
Yes, I totally agree with you. For instance, in this country, we make a lot of tribal slurs, very low key. We do a lot of discrimination with your age, just saying, oh, I'm not expecting this man. Mr. Solomon won't know it because Mr. Solomon doesn't, that makes Mr. Solomon to feel a certain type of way at work.
Of course, and even with religion, we make religious insults or religious statements that sort of tilt towards reducing another religion over the other.
Yeah, you hear things like this one a holiday, where when they do. How many holidays do people even used to do safe? I mean, those are little things that if you're in a place where the people your colleagues are very religious or real bigots, it can lead to further disruption and more quarrels, fights.
Exactly. And some of this stems from our stereotypes. We have stereotypes in our head. We have unconscious biases.
Yeah, especially when it comes to tribe.
And so we now start to, even not just tribe, religion as well. We have unconscious biases that we have had over time as adults. Even from when we were small, a lot of biases that we've had. And so when we make some statements, sometimes we don't realize that it's stereotypical and it's also a bias to a certain group of people.
Yes, even for gender as well. You hear people say, oh, I don't want a girl for that role. Oh, I just say outrightly, oh, I don't want a girl for that role. Oh, no, I don't think we can promote her. A woman, say that a woman, she's the leader of, just little things that we don't even really pay attention to. Oh, I don't want a Yoruba accountant because the Yoruba people.
So let's even move to inappropriate propositions in the workplace.
Oh.
So sometimes it's even inappropriate to tell people or make propositions to people that are sexually inclined. So, for example, it's not. It might be funny when people say things like, "Oh, Nami go marry you." In the workplace.
I've actually had a situation where somebody told me, I'll raise this your dress up. Oh.
Yeah, so these are inappropriate propositions. Why? And they are unwanted most times. So especially women. Men may say things. I'm not saying women don't say offensive things to men, but a lot of times we are on the receiving end as women when we get all those statements that are propositions that are inappropriate in the workplace.
What are inappropriate sexual statements? Just sexual statements like, it's the way you're bending your waist. It look nice, so without,
Yeah, so I don't even want to repeat some of those type of statements, right? They are pretty much annoying and they should not even belong in the workplace.
One of the cases where they tell somebody you smell nice, is it a sexual statement?
Joe, I'm not going to go into that debate. So let's go into non-verbal harassment, right? Because sometimes, yeah, people are carried away that until you say something inappropriate, but there are also acts that are inappropriate, right? If somebody not invites you to touch them, you have no business touching them, and this happens in a lot of people's workplace. So I'll give you an example. I saw a customer in a supermarket. The lady that was attending to people on the aisle um asked him about something, and he was rude when he was answering. Right, next thing he wanted to start holding her back, rubbing her back, and then she told him, "Oh, I don't like, I don't like this," and he was like, "Oh, I can't even pay. I can pay for this, or I can pay you how much
Is
I'll
that
pay
an
you for."
inappropriate proposition,
So that's someone's
by the
workplace
way?
that you have come to threaten the someone. You've come to threaten her peace in the workplace. She's at her own workstation, but what you're doing has endangered her workstation.
I like that you brought this up because a lot of time when we talk about clear policies on harassment and bullying, we focus on, within between your colleagues and in-house, within your organization. What happens where somebody externally comes in,
Exactly.
and what are the policies on that?
Exactly.
Who are we reporting to?
Like you said, we set clear policies for our employees, but we don't set clear policies for our customers.
I'm even concerned about the actions afterwards. For instance, if I were to report to a line manager that a client was inappropriate with me, are we confronting that client? Are they going to confront that client? Are we going to walk the clients out? Are you going to make me apologize to the client?
Yeah. So I think this is a lesson, or this is something employers must think about, right? Make a decision today that whatever it is, I would not endanger my employees' well being. It's a decision you should make. Don't pick money over the well being of your employees.
Yeah.
Don't pick profits over the well being of your employees. Don't pick money over the safety of your employees, right? So sometimes I've watched a few documentaries on flight attendants. I think it's on YouTube. You can find some of the clips on YouTube, and how they say they are sexually endangered.
Mm.
They get when they get booked into a hotel, they get appropriate and unsolicited visits from inappropriate and unsolicited visits. And some of them they had like a documentary, and some of these airlines don't even say anything about it in the end. So these are the issues, right? You can't pick profits over the safety of your employees.
Speaking on non-verbal harassment or bullying, sabotaging your colleagues' work is part of,
Oh yes.
non-verbal
Yes,
harassment.
yes.
Excluding them from groups, excluding your colleagues from groups or from group hangouts, just saying, oh, the entire team is hanging out except,
Yeah.
this person, and maybe say, oh, because she's not fun, or those are things that can be considered as harassment or bullying.
Yeah.
All right, we need to be very mindful of it.
Other people's feelings. And of course, there's something that also happens. People send people inappropriate visual materials. So
Like nudes.
I know that you like to paint pictures and examples.
Yes, I don't want to, it was inappropriate visual material. Like nudes. Don't send your colleagues nudes or your boss. I hear people are sending their bosses nudes now.
I've heard that as well.
That's very inappropriate. As HR managers, what are we even doing to? So we always jump at this superior or the line manager sending the subordinates. What about the subordinates sending inappropriate? Yeah, so who gets penalized? Are we going to say because it's the older person, what did he do to get there? What are these policies? And that brings me back to, what are we spelling out in these policies? What are we tackling? How are we tackling it? There are
Yeah.
things that we need to, pay attention to.
Yeah.
We need to set out, and it's not just about writing policies. People need to be educated on what is
Exactly.
wrong and what is
Awareness. Have awareness
inappropriate.
sessions on
Yes.
bullying and harassment. Sometimes what people consider bullying, other people might not consider bullying, right? Sometimes people are able to cope with, they have a certain threshold for bullying that other people don't have, because we're all coming from different backgrounds.
Backgrounds. Yeah.
So some people also have subtle ways of bullying people, microaggressions.
Mhm.
Like one, they ask them a question in an email and they just write one line,
Mhm.
or you ask them a question in a workspace chat and they just write one line.
Yeah, all those little
And
drop it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they sometimes they even bring sarcasm into work. How should I know that you're being sarcastic when I'm asking you about a real problem that we're trying to solve?
And then the person gets into trouble.
Exactly. So avoid microaggressions, and this also brings back to what you said about sabotaging people's work intentionally. So this is just like wickedness, unnecessary wickedness, really. So to do all of these, right, you can't be a leader that is not leading by example. To be able to see all these things as wrong.
What are you saying at work as a leader?
As a leader, you must lead by example. To be able to even recognize what bullying is, recognize what harassment is, it starts from leadership.
Yes, I found that in different times, right? When you see someone on the team being rude to you as consultants, right? We've had people, you just see maybe the operations person in the organization, it just being really rude to you, and then you finally meet the CEO, and then it makes sense to you.
Yes,
You now understand that this trickle down from leadership, because they are just rude to, they've just been rude to their staff, so everybody's just rude. Any opportunity they get, they're just talking to the next person anyhow. So it's very important that we set the tone for how it is in our part as leaders. It's in our hands, right, to set the tone for how everyone else treats everyone in the workplace.
You must lead from the front. If you say you don't want harassment or bullying in your work culture, you must lead and champion it from the front, not lip service, but practically. And then this goes on to, let's talk about having a diverse team, balancing the male to female ratio, if possible, and
even up to the tribe, right? When I was doing my NYSC, excuse me, I was the only Igbo person there. Or you know how Yorubas refer to anybody that is not Yoruba outside Igbo. So I was only Igbo person there, and everybody else was Yoruba. And the only way I survived is because I grew up in Lagos, so I understand Yoruba. But there were a lot of undertone, Yoruba. You just say, "Oh, Mama, she doesn't have respect." I could do any little thing I do, women that I don't have respect. If I don't
speaking Yoruba in the work.
Yes, they were speaking a lot of Yoruba at work, and it was confusing for me. It's just that that's me. Somebody else may not have been able to survive in that team.
There's a point that I think is important. In the workplace, where you have people that speak a certain type of language that are more, it tends to happen that there will be somebody that will feel out of place, because the language can just spring up at any time. They might start giving instructions for work problems or solving work problems in, for example, Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa, which can also make certain people feel bullied or out of place,
and make certain people feel superior. So if the owner of the business is a certain tribe, and every other person on that, most people in the team or majority of people in the team are the same tribe with the CEO, they feel like, oh, my brother's business is an entitlement that comes, my sister's business. So you, the Igbo person that just came in, they don't think that you would last there. They're looking for how to kick you out and bring somebody else that is their brother. And this may be things that the owner of the business did not plan. So that brings me back to HR managers. It is your duty to notice these things, identify these things, and solve it. Right. Another thing you can do is
diversity and inclusion.
Yes, another thing you can do is set out policies that stop vernacular. Speaking of vernacular in the workplace, right? So you can say if you're caught speaking, Igbo or Yoruba or any vernacular at work, you pay a certain
Except you are
fine.
working in BBC Yoruba.
Except that, or except a client specifically asks for it. So you can get a client who doesn't know how to speak or communicate in like English properly, but just to speak a language
But
to
there's a
you.
way you can even have those type of things and still make it an inclusive environment. Yeah. When the person speaks the language, you make the person balance it with English, or you get someone to sit beside the person that is speaking the vernacular to do some bit of translation. So let's talk about reporting and support for harassed people. I would say it starts from empowering employees,
Mm-hmm.
right? Make everyone, give them the ability to be champions, to be anti-harassment champions. Let them not be bystanders in the process.
Mm-hmm.
They have to also champion some things. Empower your employees to the extent that they should speak up when they feel harassed or bullied in the workplace.
And I think another thing that encourages speaking up is the action after speaking up.
Yeah,
What happens
prompt
after
action.
speaking up? Prompt action, and even prompt action to what and to whom. Who does it favor? Does an investigation go on to ensure that the right culprits are being penalized,
Exactly.
or
And there should be
is there a victim? Is there a
confidentiality.
victim blaming?
Yeah, even before we even go to prompt action, there should be a confidentiality
Yes.
of reporting. The reporting system, let it be confidential as well, because nobody in the end wants to feel that
No, nobody wants to announce.
picked on.
Like, I don't want anybody announcing that a certain person in the office touched my breast, for instance. It is going to be embarrassing for the person who made that report. So it's very important that we take confidentiality serious and, prompt action. So if people see that, the organization doesn't support this kind of harassment with the way they penalize and the way they swing into action, it encourages other people to go ahead and report. And after a while, you find out that everybody in the organization, you no longer have bullies or harassers in your organization,
Yes.
because you've been able to pick out everyone that does that and kick them out.
Exactly. So we're talking more of legal compliance, and let the consequences be progressive.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you should have a a way of reviewing disciplinary actions. If it's to even, like, if you're a small business and you need to bring in your friends from other places and have a panel
Mm-hmm.
and investigate, you need to do that so that you can show that you have zero tolerance. Because whatever you tolerate in terms of what employees report to you, it becomes a norm. So show zero tolerance and legal compliance. General
I think
legal
another thing that is
compliance.
also important is, should the employee be lying? If it was a false allegation or false accusation, what happens to the
That's
person
another
who are
bullying on the other person.
yes? So that's action also needs to be taken. It's not a case of, oh, it's false and let's just let it go. It's the false allegation. That means that other people can get away with lying against other people. So we need to pay attention to things like this. We also need to know, what are the punishments. There are some little things that an apology note, a public apology, would solve. There are other things that you might need to involve law enforcement, right, into the process.
Yeah.
And we also need to be careful in these policies. I'm very particular about policies, maybe because of my background. You want to clearly state out something so that it doesn't come and haunt you. Now, if you want to excuse somebody from your
But there are cases
organization,
when you don't even anticipate those problems ever coming up, especially when you are in a growth phase.
Yes, which is why you need
that's why
repose
you
BHR. If you're in a growth phase,
so that's where proper HR expertise come in.
One final thing before we wrap up, it is very important that you pay attention to what you say when you're terminating or excusing people who have been alleged of being bullies or being harassers at your workplace. You want to make sure that the contract, doesn't have anything that implicates you or can later cause any legal consequence to your business. So you need to be very careful. For further advice or information on that, you can always come to Repose Bay for help. And to just recap on everything that we have said, We have mentioned that awareness is very important
Mm-hmm.
to foster a respectful workplace. You need to make people aware of what counts as verbal harassment, non-verbal harassment. They need to know, they need to be training and education. There also needs to be open discussion. You need to encourage open discussion, and there should be clear and concise policies on what is allowed and what is not allowed, especially when it comes to bullying and harassment. What kind of conversations do people have at the workplace, and what kind would amount to harassment and bullying? And I think that it's important as leaders to also set the tone for how our employees and people on our team would perceive, other people in the workplace. If you're used to insulting or using tribal slurs, gender slurs, you need to stop it so that it doesn't trickle down to the entire workspace. Um, we should also take prompt actions rather when reports are made. Actions should be prompt, and progressive disciplinary actions should be taken. Right, we should be able to identify what consequences or what penalties go for what kind of actions, so that we're not too extreme also in the kind of punishment that we give to people, and it doesn't also feel like bullying as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Do you have any extra thing to add? Have I missed out anything?
No, so really you've covered it all, and based on our discussion today, I just want to emphasize leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
staying
you, guys.
tuned in today's episode. And we hope that you're not a harasser. We hope you don't bully. And we hope you also speak out when you see people being bullied.
That said, please don't forget to reach out to us at our website at www.peoplesbayhr.com, and at the Ready Job Seeker using www.readyjobseeker.co. Thank you.